Let me start off by introducing myself. My name is Gary Blank. I am the IEEE USA President for the year 2014. I'd like to share a few minutes with you to tell you about IEEE USA, what we're doing, how it affects other groups, including our STEM education programs and WIE especially. Just a little bit of background so you'll know a little bit more about IEEE USA. Many people are a little bit confused about the difference between IEEE and IEEE USA. Let me try to clarify that. IEEE is an international organization. IEEE is currently present in about 200 countries around the world. IEEE USA is one of 200 countries, but by far the largest portion of membership. The total membership in all of IEEE, including IEEE USA, is about 430,000 members, making us the largest in the world. The split in that is very simple. We have over 200,000, almost half, are in the United States, and the other 230,000 are in the other countries around the world. Now, the history of the IEEE and IEEE USA is very much the same. It all started a long time ago, back in 1884, but 130 years ago, almost to the date, 130 years ago, when a group of people, a group of engineers, a group of physicists got together and said, you know, we need to start an organization. And this organization will be for our profession. It will do the things our profession asks us to do, things which are really very helpful to all of society. And so they formed an organization back in 1884, and some of the names you may recognize in some of the early days of the organization. One of the key names you'll recognize is Thomas Edison. He was one of the first members back in around 1884, and so was Alexander Graham Bell, Nikola Tesla, George Westinghouse, and the name goes on. You'll recognize a lot of the names as we go by. And the reason I mention it is because there's a lot of pride in the organization. When I talk to you and think that this is all part of a continuation of something that started 130 years ago, and it gives me sort of a warm feeling and a pleasure to know that we're part of something that's very great, something that's gone through so much time and has been tested and keeps on giving and giving and giving to humanity and giving to society. I'm very proud to be a member of the IEEE and IEEE USA, being part of IEEE. And so you'll notice a lot of pride as I talk today about the things that IEEE and IEEE USA are doing. When I get over the feeling of pride, and I do it very often, I have to talk to people and they say, well, what's so important about IEEE and IEEE USA? Well, let me talk about IEEE USA for just a minute. When I get over the feeling and the connection with history, which is very, very dominant, I talk about the value. What is the value of an organization? What's the value of membership in an organization like ours? And the answer I come up with, there are many of them, but the first set I want to talk to you about are the intangibles, the things you cannot put numbers and metrics on. You can't give you a number or a dollar figure, but I'll tell you what they do for you. The value of this organization, it has provided jobs for me and many other members. It's helped with jobs. It's helped with employment. We do a lot of networking. I have found so many opportunities because of the IEEE organization by knowing people and networking with them over my career, and it makes a big difference. We get a lot of referrals, and I mentioned the word networks before. Even when I was going on to graduate school, it was very helpful to be an IEEE member. Then when I got out of graduate school and I went into industry, it was very valuable as far as finding jobs and knowing where to go and what to do. I have chosen as part of my career to be a consultant. I've done a lot of consulting work, and I've gotten so many referrals and so many leads from being a member of the IEEE that I cannot even put a number in those. I've done consulting work for over 40 different corporations in the United States, and without the IEEE behind me, this would never have happened as it has turned out to be. I've been a professor at different universities, and again, the presence of IEEE makes a difference. it makes you not only network, but you can get involved with learning about how to get promotions, how to get faculty positions, how to get your material published, how to get grants for the university. You get to learn what's current, what's going on in the field, and these are things that I find are extremely valuable. They're intangibles, but these are things that have made it very necessary to pursue a career in this field. Now, on the other side, if we talk about benefits now, and we start talking about dollars and benefits, you'll find there's so many benefits that people are not even aware of. And I once went through and made out a list of all the benefits. I came with over 100 different things. Many of them are money, discounts, benefits, things I can take advantage of. It's very possible that today or recently you may have purchased some office equipment, a printer, or maybe software, and you did not disclose the fact that you're an IEEE member, and you probably wasted about 20 or 30% of your money because those are the discounts we're entitled to. And I've seen people go to the same store I go to, we buy the same product, same price on the tag, but I pay less because I'm an IEEE member, and I use my membership for discounts. So we have a lot of office supplies, things like printers, software, computers. You can buy computers from Lenovo. You can buy products from Hewlett-Packard. You can buy things that are software or through Microsoft. And the list goes on. We save money when we do things like UPS shipping because we're an IEEE member in the United States. We have life insurance. And we have things like accidental death and dismemberment, which are very important. We have so many other disability things. We have travel insurance, home insurance. You can insure your home through IEEE. Now here's one that I think I enjoy telling you about, auto insurance. There's a company you can go to, a good company, and you can buy insurance, and you have it, and it's good. But if you go to the same company and disclose the fact you're an IEEE member, and you show your membership card, this one gentleman who called me said the difference was $460 a year that he saved by disclosing he was an IEEE member. So when you pay dues as a student, you pay about $32 a year. As a full member, you pay about $180 a year. If you can save $460 right off the bat on something like automobile insurance, you can see where the finances start to make a lot of sense. So when people say to me, you know, they don't see how they can save it, I can save that money many, many times over just by taking advantage of some of these benefits. And there's so many more that I can spend the whole time here talking about them, but I won't. You can find them all on our IEEE website, and it's very, very encouraging to see the things that are available. So let me go on and not spend too much time talking about all these different discount features, but let me talk a little bit about IEEE USA. IEEE USA includes all the members within the United States, and this includes Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and island of Jamaica is part of considered to be part of USA nowadays for various reasons. But the interesting thing is that we're striving to update the things we're doing to reflect what is necessary in this year as compared to last year or 5 years ago. Technology is changing. Membership interests are changing. Members are looking for different things that they didn't have before. And so we are adapting and trying to keep ourselves in track with what does the member want, what's in the best interest of our profession. And so these are things that are driving us on in our goals this year, and we're beginning to see things happening. We're seeing a lot of good things happening right now in connection with the WIE, with the Women in Engineering. We're seeing some good things happening with K through 12 STEM literacy, and we're very pleased. We're not content, but we keep moving in that direction. One of the big things that's happening in just a few days is Engineers Week, known as E-Week, all over the United States. And there are a lot of things happening during that week, which is in the middle of February. And around the country, we're seeing things like the Future City competition, national finals. I had the pleasure of being on a webcast just a few days ago with the president of the University of Delaware, as well as the chief engineer, a lady named Karen Fletcher. She's the chief engineer at DuPont. And the three of us, University of Delaware, DuPont, and IEEE USA, are the three sponsors in 2014 together for eWeek. It's the university, it's a company, and it's an organization. So for this year, 2014, IEEE USA, we're very proud to be the lead organization, and we're very happy to be part of this process. There are so many things in store for us as we go through the next few days leading up to eWeek. There are radio tours that are scheduled to on radio that are going to be broadcast during the week of eWeek. There's so much going on with Discover Engineering. It has a family day, which is on February 22nd in Washington, D.C. You'll be hearing more about this on Fox TV around the 20th of February, the advertising for it. We have a new website that you'll be hearing more about called AppEFeat, APP-E-FEAT. And this is going to be a very interesting website that we're putting up in order to help people with different emergencies and many different reasons for it. And then we're very much involved with STEM education, and especially with government. We make it an active part of our effort to go to Capitol Hill and to talk to people about things that are very helpful for our country, for the future of the USA, and all of IEEE members, and especially in K-12 STEM area. You may have heard of something called a coalition. It's a STEM education coalition, and IEEE USA is working with a STEM education coalition, and we were involved with advocacy activities, working with the Congress, the 113th Congress of the United States. And the purpose of this coalition is to support the legislation and initiatives to make the teaching of math and science in the nation's publicly funded elementary and secondary schools better. We're trying to strengthen them. This coalition is actually formed in Washington and has about 600 businesses, educational, professional, and labor organizations that have come together to inform federal and state policymakers about the role that STEM education plays in keeping the United States technologically competitive and economically prosperous. The coalition has become a trusted source for information on the views of major STEM educational stakeholders. So in 2013, some of the federal legislation that coalition members, including IEEE USA, has been involved, includes the Strengthen America's Schools Act, the Education Tomorrow's Engineers Act, and so many other things we're doing. The Computer Science Education and Jobs Act. These are all bills, legislation with bill numbers to authorize the use of federal funds to improve computer science and teaching. There's so much more involving provisions in the Draft House and Senate on America Competes reauthorization bills. And in the year 2013, the coalition also submitted recommendations to the House Science, Space and Technology Committee and the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, as well as the White House Office on Science and Technology Policy, the National Science Foundation, and the U.S. Department of Education on various STEM and STEM workforce pipeline issues. So there's a lot more on the coalition, its members and activities, and we can spend just hours talking about the things that are happening, but you can probably find a lot of this information out on the websites. One place we want to look at is one called STEMEdcoalition.org. That's STEMED coalition.org, and you'll find a lot of good information there. Now, let me go on and talk very quickly about the SWE, Society for Women Engineers, and especially WIE, our IEEE members, women in engineering, and the connection with the IEEE USA. IEEE USA is totally dedicated to supporting and encouraging women to become part of our engineering society. We feel that they have so much more to contribute than we've taught in the past, and I think things are changing, and I think they're changing for the good, and I'm very pleased to see what's going on. One of the things that will give you an idea of what we're talking about is that we're doing a congressional fly-in with WIE. And this is going to be the fourth year that IEEE USA and WIE have co-sponsored what's called a Congressional Visits Day. This is organized by Society of Women Engineers. And the event is basically to have participants at this event. We market the event to members and usually have at least one of their board members participate. And we try to let Congress know that we are very concerned and very interested and we're very supportive of the continuing effort to bring women into engineering in large numbers. We think it's very vital to our company, to our country, and so I expect to see it's going to be a big one. This year's event's going to be on March 5th and 6th, and we expect to see a lot of action coming out in Washington, D.C. We expect to have over 31 associations that have already agreed to co-sponsor the event. And last year, about 90 people participated in about 30 meetings on the Hill, and we expect the same number again this year. So that gives you some idea that we're very active in the area of women in engineering. We're very supportive, and we would like to even accelerate that as much as we can. And I think it gives you an idea that IEEE USA is very active. And with that, I'd like to open up their chat now to get some questions from you if you have any. Okay, so much to talk about. Okay, well, we have questions. Let me tell you a little bit more about the structure of IEEE USA. As we explained, IEEE USA is almost half the membership, maybe 40-45% of the membership of all of IEEE. And so IEEE USA has its own board, and this board consists of members from, we have divided the United States into 6 regions. And so each region has what we call a region director. That person is elected by the members of that region. And so those 6 region directors, along with we have 3 presidents. We have a past, a current, like I am the president for 2014, and we have one coming up a little bit later. And so for next year. So we have 3 presidents, 6 region directors, we have 4 vice presidents, we have a treasurer. There are about 18 or 20 people involved. And they meet on a regular basis to discuss the challenges that we have. Now, I have a question that says, what is the best feedback you have received? And I think, without going into, well, let me tell you a little bit of my own background, because the answer ties in with that quite well. My background is in electrical engineering. I've been involved, I have my PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Wisconsin, and my focus has been in control systems and power electronics, and more recently the area of power and machine control and so forth, and I enjoy what I do. I like it very much. So I come in contact with people in industry quite a bit who talk about what benefits they have derived from being in IEEE. And one of the best stories I've heard was about an individual who finished school, had a good education, but had some difficulty in getting started because he was a little bit bashful, a little bit shy about promoting himself to get jobs. And so he decided to go to IEEE meetings where he stood by, for the most part, very shy, very reserved, and then he learned that he could open his mouth and he could talk, and he was helped to encourage by the members to present himself. And he said that it not only propelled him into getting his first job and his second job, but eventually made it all the way to being a very top executive in a very large corporation. And he said if it had not been for the start that he got from being in part of IEEE and IEEE USA, it may never have happened. And I have to agree with him, because I remember I started off as a student in IEEE, as a student member, and I wasn't quite sure where I was going with this membership. But as I went through and I got through graduate school and got into industry, I realized that without the IEEE link, I would be lost, because there was so much available in the way of networking and promotion. And so that gives you a bit of idea about how many members and I see the value of our membership and the things that it's done for us. So I think probably one of the best stories I've heard was this gentleman who told me about all the success he's had, up to and include the fact that he's now the CEO of a very large corporation. Now, I have another question here that I would like to answer also. It says, influencing policymakers is a key purpose of IEEE USA. How can people get involved? Well, that's a good question, because I remember that as a member, I was also of a section, I wasn't quite sure how you connect the section to Capitol Hill. How do you get people involved? Well, I learned that what I can do is I can start talking to my section leaders. We're all members of a section. And so if you talk to your section leaders, you'll find within the section there are people who are connected with the IEEE USA board. And the IEEE USA board and IEEE USA has lobbyists. These lobbyists, they go to Capitol Hill and they present our points of view. These are salaried people. But to get your message to them, you need to connect yourself between where you are as a member within a section and the people in IEEE USA. And the best way to do it is to work through your section chair, or in some sections you have what's called a PACE chair, and that person may be very helpful as far as as far as making the link for you. So you'll be surprised how quickly what you have to say and what your opinions are, how much you want to get involved, can surface to the top. And so we want to encourage people to do more of that. The more participation you can provide in the organization, the better it is for all of us, including yourself. So don't think of yourself as being a number out there someplace and nobody listens to you. We listen. We want to hear from you, because it is what you tell us to do. That's what we're going to do. So we want to get your opinion, and that's the best way for people who are interested in policymakers to get involved. Talk to your section leaders and get them to plug you into IEEE USA leadership. They can help you with that. Now, somebody also asked about what is the most spectacular thing that we've accomplished. You know what, that's a good question. It's a tough question, and it's hard to sort out which is the most spectacular, because many of them are spectacular. You'd almost have to go through on an individual basis and see what each person thinks. But from my point of view, I think the most spectacular thing, and this is would be an individual thing now. Another person may have a different answer to this question altogether. But probably one of the most spectacular things I've ever accomplished was the fact that I was able to earn my PhD in electrical engineering at the very young age of 23. And it would not have been possible if I had not been an IEEE member and learned that I could benefit from my membership by getting help in my research, my thesis, my graduate school, my professors, and it really launched a lot of good things for me. And so as I moved into being a professor myself, when I was doing that, I was able to share that with many of my students and show them how effective it is. So I would think that probably have to rank very high on my list as one of the most spectacular things that I have accomplished as an individual because of IEEE and IEEE USA. Now, when you want to become involved with supporting IEEE USA initiatives, the best way is to work it through your section. Contact your section leader. There's got to be a section chair, or got to be a PACE chair or somebody, and you tell them that you are a volunteer and you want to help support some of IEEE USA initiatives. And so by just asking them, they will tell you who to get in contact with, what you can do, things you may be able to start and develop as part of a small group or something within your section that you can work on. This can be very, very helpful to the organization. So the next question I have, which I think is very fascinating one too, it says, how is engineering education changing and how do you think it should? Well, there are two parts to that. How is it changing? How do you think it should? There's a lot of inertia in engineering education. Things that were started years ago continue to persist because the universities are doing a good job, but they're always very concerned about, let's keep on teaching the fundamentals. Let's keep on teaching the fundamentals. And this is true. So as you go through the curriculum, you still have the usual things. You'll learn about Ohm's law and circuit theory and all the things that are essential. But with things changing, with technology changing, how do you include a lot of new things without eliminating some of the older things? So I think what's happening is this. We have some very talented people at universities who are teaching. These people have learned how to incorporate new technology into existing courses, making them interesting, yet not requiring to go to extra credit hours or go beyond the usual 4 years. So I think the changing we're seeing is this. The courses are being modified mostly at the senior level to fit the new technology so that the slant is more using as examples new technology compared to examples we used for the same material a few years ago. And so I think it's going to stay that way for a while, and if it had to change, I think we'd have to be very, very alert to what changes are occurring in the way of new technology, what new things are coming up, and then we need to adapt to that. We cannot just rest on our laurels and say this is the way we taught it 50 years ago. It has to be the way it ought to be taught now, today, and the same material must be adjusted and adapted to fit new technology, new inventions, many new ideas. Now, in many organizations, and I have to share with you that I have a section of my own that I'm a part of. I'm part of a very small section, and we have a small group of WIE support. And I have found that it's very difficult for the members who start the WIE group to get things going. Any group requires a lot of activity to get things started. So I think that what we can do to help our WIE is to first of all step forward, talk to the section chair or the PACE chair and say, I'd like to start a WIE group in this section. And they will have all the information. You don't need to have a lot of people. You just need a handful of people to get a group started. And when you get a group started, have the section promote what you're doing in your newsletter. Have them maybe have a meeting in which you had a chance to talk, or some of the other members talk about the advantages of WIE, and you'll get a lot of support from them, from WIE itself. If they know that you're starting to form an organization and that you need some help to get things going, you'll get help not only from your section, your local section, but you'll get help from WIE. And you can contact them also through your section, find the leaders, look on the website. Within every region, within every section, there's usually somebody there who knows a lot about WIE and can help things going. So I think if I were, regardless whether you're male or female, you could help to get the WIE group started simply by taking a step forward and showing the initiative. And you just basically have to find people with interest. Say, would you be interested in working with me to develop a WIE group or WIE, whatever it is that you're trying to form? And you'll find you get a lot of support for that. So I want to encourage you to do it. And also the same is true with STEM. Women are very active. As a matter of fact, I can probably go into lots of examples of what you want to do, but when I was a student in undergraduate school, there were some very brilliant women students in our classes. They had better grades than I got, and they were very smart and very competent people. I went on to graduate school, and I found a lot of very good, competent women engineers, and I have a lot of respect because in my career, both as a professor and in industry, I've had a chance to work with a lot of these women. and I find that they are just as good, and in many cases better, than some of the men engineers that had exactly the same positions. But I think the thing that's important to me is that we need to recognize, we have to wake up and say, wait a minute, we got some talent here, we got some skills here, let's take advantage of it. Because these people are very creative, and I have to admit to you that many times I sit back and I say, oh, and I often point out to my wife when I come home and I grade papers in my classes, and I show her, I says, look, this is what the girls in the class did. Here's the rest of the class. And I got to admit to you, almost every time, the homework, the test, whatever it was better that the girls did than the guys did. Now, I'm not going to generalize on that. I just want to share with you that that's the way it is. There's some very, very competent people, and I really want to support everything they can do. So how can we help promote women in STEM professions? Well, I think what we can do, one of the things whether it be a male or a female, one of the things you can do is make contact with your high school or your middle school. And in many cases, they are willing to have you be a guest speaker to come and talk to parents or students and or faculty and tell them what exciting things engineering is all about. Give them some ideas, and I think they're very needy in that area, because I've had a chance to get feedback from certain schools where a student comes home and says, this is what my teacher said engineering is all about. And the teacher meant very well, no question about that. But what the teacher had told them was based upon opinion and was not really very accurate. So I'd like to encourage you to get involved. By involved, I mean step forward. Go to either the IEEE group, or you can go to the high school or go to the middle school and say, you know, I'm an engineer and I would like to, whether you're male or female, I'd like to offer my services to come and speak and share with you, to work with the teachers, and I can also get them involved in other aspects. There's so many things that IEEE USA is doing right now to help with STEM education, that just you can act as a link to connect the school and the teachers with what IEEE USA is doing. So I think it's a matter of stepping forward, whether it be a WIE initiative or what is something to do with STEM. You need to step forward and start on a small basis, contact the section chair or the PACE chair, and take it from there. Now, when I encounter new students, and I talk to many of them all the time, they're fresh out of school. I'm talking now about the graduating seniors, the ones who just got their degrees in engineering, electrical engineering. Many of them are very happy to get a job, and they go out with the intention of, you know, they're going to make a difference in this world, and that's good. I'm glad to see that. But somewhere along the line, they seem to lose track within the first 2 or 3 years that there's a professionalism detail that tends to slip through the cracks. And so I would have to say that if I were looking for the most vulnerable area where they're likely to make a slip, it would be somewhere between graduation and year 2 or year 3. They become accustomed to making money, they have a nice job, they like what they're doing, and they forget that there's a whole career ahead of them, and that they're going to need, to me, to be attached to other people and the profession as they go through. So I try to tell them, I say it's so important to hang on, keep your membership going, go to meetings, stay in touch, and when they get to about the 3rd or 4th year, all of a sudden maturity sets in, a little bit more maturity, and they say, well, boy, I'm sure glad I did that. And so if I had to just give somebody a piece of advice, I would say, you know, stick with it, hang in there, be patient. Even if you aren't interested in the networking, or you're not looking for a job, or you're not looking to publish a paper, and these are things that I itemized earlier. Even if you don't care to save money in your auto insurance. And oh, by the way, I got to tell you about the auto insurance part. You know, a little bit earlier I mentioned to you that it's a tremendous saving, and this one young man told me he saved $470 a year by going through IEEE to get his auto insurance. And so I did ask the underwriter, why is it so inexpensive for me to buy the insurance if I came through wearing my IEEE membership? And he gave me a very profound answer, which I can share with you. He said to me this, he says, you know, electrical engineers or people related to their profession are usually good drivers and intelligent drivers. And because of that, the pool is not the pool that's open to the public like many other companies that have to take people who may have had bad accidents or who have a bad record. He says, and because the records of these people and the intelligence level is so high, we tend to find there aren't as many accidents involved. So we can afford to provide the same coverage but for lesser premiums. And I thought, boy, it's nice to be associated with that kind of, people. And that's what IEEE USA members are all about. That's what I just wanted to get back to that part of it. A little bit of a tangent there, but I thought you'd appreciate that. Now, how has IEEE helped me in my goals and professional career? Tremendously. I wouldn't know what it would have been like without them, so I really cannot compare and say this happened and this would not have happened. But I can tell you what did happen. What happened a lot is the fact that as a member, I was exposed to people, other students, faculty, people in industry, people who had a lot to offer, who helped me, whom I would never have met under normal circumstances. And these people gave me advice about how to approach my job, how to write a research paper, how to do things that I would never have found anyplace else. And so I'd have to say that IEEE has helped me tremendously to achieve my goals in my overall professional career. And they were very helpful all the way through. When I was doing my PhD thesis, I was able to count on the IEEE to help me as far as locating publications and going to a conference that had answers that helped me tremendously in getting my work done. And then after that, when I got into the world and discovered that I could earn money and make money and get a job and move around and be a consultant, be a professor, whatever I wanted to be, it was always very helpful to have IEEE to help me there with referrals and ideas and leads. And I can go on and talk that for hours, but I'm very excited. I'm very pleased, and I think this is a tremendous asset to all of us who are members right now. And if you aren't one, think of becoming one, because you're really in for quite a surprise. It's a tremendous organization. Now, does IEEE USA provide resources or database internship opportunities? The answer is yes. They provide many internship opportunities. I do not have the information at my fingertips to tell you exactly where to find it, but I would recommend that you contact your section chair or somebody in the area, or even go to the IEEEUSA.org, IEEEUSA.org website, and you may find something that tells you a little bit about the internships that are available, and this would be very helpful, I'm sure, to answer that question. But there are opportunities available. I know that some of them that we do provide interns are going to the White House. Into Congress. They go into Congress and they can be a government fellowship or a government internship for a while, which is also very helpful. So that's something to think about. Now, somebody also asked me, what excites you about volunteering? Why do you continue doing it? Well, I can give you the ideal answer, and I don't want to cheapen it by saying that, but I can say this very clearly, that I cannot give back to IEEE what it has done for me. I'm trying to pay back in a way by volunteering, by putting in time into doing the things I'm doing. And even if I did that for another 15 or 20 years, I still can't repay what the IEEE and IEEE USA have done for me in my career. So I continue doing it. I'm excited about it because I'm seeing people coming into the profession, people who are people like me and people that I think have tremendous futures, and I can see a great future in the organization, in our members, and especially in our technology. It's exciting to know that the things we're doing on a daily basis contribute to humanity. If you look around you, look at almost everything around you. You look at a car, you look at a computer, you look at a cell phone, everything you look at, a microwave oven, we did it. We did it. IEEE was very much involved in almost every one of those things that when they were invented, you can find the story behind them, and if you look around, you can see that we are committed and we enjoy contributing to society and to humanity. And very good question, how do you balance your career and IEEE volunteer activities? Well, I have a family life, I have a personal family life, and I will not give it up for anything, obviously, like anybody else. But it means that I have to find a way to take care of my job, to get my work done, to run my business, to teach my classes, and still find time to contribute to IEEE. And I do not know that I have an answer as to how to split up the 168 hours a week between all those organizations. Maybe you can say you sleep less, maybe you watch a little less television, maybe you read a little bit less. You take that time that you have available and you split it up between being fair to your family, being fair to your profession, being fair to your job, and I think it's a real challenge. So, but it's a wonderful challenge. I love it. The other question I have is, what excites you with volunteering? Why do you continue doing it? Well, I think I just answered that question because I like growth. I like to see what the young people are doing, and I think it's a tremendous opportunity. You know, one person pointed out to me something a little while ago that I thought was very interesting. He said, you know, when I go into a medical doctor's office, I see a plaque on the wall that says he or she is a member of the American Medical Association, AMA. And it gives me a good feeling to know that this person is keeping up with all the technology in medicine, is a member of this, and is in touch with other medical doctors, and gives me a feeling of confidence. He says, IEEE is exactly the same thing. When I come in contact with an engineer, and the engineer says I'm a member of IEEE, I know I'm talking to somebody who is up on things, somebody who's connected, somebody who's networking, and it gives me a good feeling. And an employer feels the same way too. Many employers put a lot of emphasis on the IEEE membership because they understand that the IEEE member is probably somebody who is a little bit more up to date on what's going on, somebody who is involved with industry and knows when things are happening, and so it's quite an interesting situation to be in, to realize that you can make a difference because of your membership in an organization. So I put the IEEE membership basically on the same comparison, if you want to call it that, with something like the AMA and the American Dental Association and so forth. It isn't that if you're not a member, there's something wrong. It's just that if you're a member, there's something good to be concerned. There's a positive about being a part of a professional organization that is totally dedicated to your profession. So I'd like to be sure to share that one with you. Somebody asked the question, what do you think will be the biggest challenge for engineers in the future? I think the biggest challenge is going to be to find a way to keep up with the things that are going to be happening in your area. And keeping up doesn't mean you have to necessarily go back to school to keep up. It just means you have to be in touch with what's going on. Find a way to know what things are being patented, what things are being invented, what things are being discovered, both in the academic world as well as in industry. And so it's important to be able to know what's going on, because by doing that, you can really keep up with, you yourself don't have to be an inventor, you don't have to be a patenter, you don't have to do any of those things. But just to know what's going on, you may be able to use some of those ideas in order to be more productive, not only in your job, but to humanity in general. Okay, so these are some nice questions. What's the best advice you've ever received in your profession? I could say, stay with IEEE, but I think the best advice I ever got was from one of my models that I looked at, brilliant engineer. He said to me, you've invested a lot of your life and a lot of your money, parents' money probably, in getting an education to where you are today. Don't let it slip. Don't let it get rusty. Don't let it get tarnished. Don't let it become old and antiquated. He says it's important to keep up, to have that curiosity that got you where you are today, and to keep on being curious, and accept the fact that you're a problem solver, and you love to solve problems, and you want to get more problems, because the more problems you have, the more efficient you can become. As opposed to some situation where you have nothing, you get bored, you have maybe a dull future, you have a dull field of interest. It's just a matter of getting yourself excited about what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing. And that to me is the most important advice I've ever received in the profession. Somebody had asked a question about what's the biggest challenge for engineers in the future, and I think the answer is just keeping up with what's going on. You don't have to review your calculus, you don't have to go back and do all those things, but you have to have an interest in just staying abreast by maybe looking at the publications. IEEE USA, IEEE puts out publications regularly, millions of publications, millions of pages, lots of articles. And I think it's good to stay as much as you can, read as much as you can. You don't have to understand everything you read. People look at them and say, oh, this is too confusing, it's very mathematical. That's okay. But at least you get the gist of what's going on. And just doing that much can be very, very effective. So I encourage young people to stay with it. Do a lot of reading. Look into the publications that are being put out, and they're very current, they're very up to date. And so I think it's time to keep in mind. Now, somebody asked a question about policy initiatives that USA is working on. There are several, and many of them have to do with, we have a very vibrant government relations activity, which is one of the many things within IEEE USA that's different from almost any other part of the world, because we are very actively involved in doing things that are involving legislation and involving the welfare of our members. And so I think that what we'd have to do is say that the many of the initiatives involve providing better conditions for our members as far as their jobs, the security in their jobs, the future of their jobs, and the future of the profession within the United States. And so I would say that many of the policy initiatives we work on right now, there are very many of them, are based upon member input. Members tell us what they want, and we react to that. And we are doing the very best we can to promote that to the governmental bodies involved. So there are many, many of these policy initiatives that USA is working on, and you can find a lot of that also. Some of them are published on the web. And we do have a publication that goes out, IEEE USA puts out one called Today's Engineer to all of our members. If you were reading that one, it comes by email. You'll find a lot of what we're doing in the way of policy initiatives is given in the Today's Engineer, which is automatically sent to you if you are an IEEE USA member. Now, how does IEEE USA and EWE collaborate, and how can a member get involved? Two questions there. How does IEEE USA and EWE collaborate? Well, IEEE USA, as we mentioned earlier, is this year, the year 2014, we are the lead organization of a group of many, many organizations, including mechanicals, engineers, civil engineers, mathematicians, all kinds of organizations. We are the lead engineer this year, and so IEEE USA is working very closely with the EWE committee to do things to promote the profession. We're doing things to let people become aware of what engineers are doing, and especially try to enlighten young people about, and this gets back to our STEM program, about things that are happening that would enlighten them to become involved in our profession. Now, as far as getting involved, once again, your best bet is to go directly through your section, because every section is doing something, or should be doing something for EWE. And so they would know a long list of what's going on. Again, it's in many of the IEEE USA websites, and it's also in many of our publications. And you can find a lot of things that are happening. But as a member, to get involved, I think you should start with your section and talk to your section leader to see what different sections may be doing different things for EWE. And so different regions may be doing different things, but they're all together in the sense that we're all celebrating the same week at the same time. And your part, you may be surprised to know things that your section is already doing that you can do along with them. There's so many things that are happening, and so I would suggest get involved by contacting your section or by looking at the IEEE USA website to see what things are going. There's a lot on the IEEEUSA.org website that tells you what's going on in many of the sections around the country, and you may enjoy doing that. Now, next question I have here is, as IEEE USA president, what does an average day consist of for you? Well, An average day is hard to define, but I do the very best I can. Just like everybody else, I have the same 24 hours you have, and I got to do the usual things like eating and sleeping. I take time out for a little bit of leisure and family and so forth. But what I find is that there are things that are happening around the country, and as the president, I have to be aware of these things, and I have a lot of people to advise me. I don't do it all by myself. I have a lot of people that are vice presidents. I have staff that works for IEEE USA, and these people are very competent people, and so I work with them very closely. And so a lot of what I do would end up being trying to take care of situations that need to be taken care of in the way of either policies or function of committees or groups or finances or membership, and the list goes on and on and on. But I live in my own home. I do not have to be located in IEEE. Yeah, IEEE USA has an office in Washington, D.C. And yes, we have employees there, and I go there frequently to work with the staff members. But as a volunteer, I live in my own home at a distance. I'm actually located in the state of Illinois. And but I keep in touch. We're on a telephone several times, email several times a day. And so I have to set aside some time to take care of telephone calls, for emailing, for correspondence, and for trying to solve problems. A lot of problem solving going on, and who better to solve a problem than an engineer? We're the greatest problem solvers, aren't we? So it's hard to give you an exact average day, but if you get the flavor. There's a lot going on, and I'm enjoying it. And the thing is, I have so many good helpers. There's so many people, both on staff and other volunteers, who make it possible for us to make the progress we're making. Good question here. Is there a need for a university graduate to go back to basics and actually get his hands dirty before he can master a specific engineering discipline? That depends a lot on what the engineering discipline is. For instance, if you're going to, say, electrical engineering, you need to be very much up on your mathematics. I would say things like calculus and differential equations are very important. And if you haven't had them recently, you may need to go back and review and get them ready. But I found that for the most part, if you have a strong background in mathematics, up through calculus and differential equations, if you have a good background in physics and also in chemistry, you can really do very well in almost any field of engineering. Of course, a lot of it depends on your attitude, how conscientious you are, and I think you can do it. So is there a need to go back and do basics? Yes, you may have to go back and not do it in a classroom. You may have to just go back and pick up a book and start reading, or find a review course someplace, but you don't really need to go back and start all over again. So I would say that it's very possible to master a specific engineering discipline with a strong background in mathematics, physics, chemistry, and related areas. Now, somebody says, is there any advice on how to progress in volunteer leadership goals? Volunteer chairs, vice president, president, etc. Well, there's no cut and dry path. I found that it depends a lot upon your own interest. Now, personally, my interest was I got involved with a consultants network. I was part of IEEE USA, but I became aware of the fact that they were having something called consultants networks, which I never heard of before. And being a consultant, I thought, let me look into this. Well, I ended up having to form one of my own, and the group has grown. We had about 5 people at our first meeting, and we now have about 200 members. Now, what does this network do? These are all fellow IEEE members who are consultants. They are not working for a company, they're working for themselves. And so they were able to share with me what they know about what companies are looking for what, and I can share with them. And so we help each other by networking and forming groups like this. Now, somebody has to take charge. The person to take charge doesn't have to know everything, he's got people to help him. But volunteer leadership starts by taking on a role in a small capacity, maybe to start a consultants network, to start an employment network, to start an entrepreneurs network. When you start a network with a handful of people and with enthusiasm and energy, what happens is that becomes a committee. That committee has to have a chair. The chair is going to have to report to somebody someplace in the section or the region, or even be at a higher level. And in our case, many of our committee chairs report to vice presidents. And I did that. I was a chair of a consultants net. First, I started a consultants network. I became the chair of the network, obviously, because I started it. And then I became the overall chair of all the networks in the United States. And then I became a vice president. And from the vice president, I became the president. So I think it's a matter of taking one step at a time. If you want to go to a higher level, it will come with time. But you got to have enthusiasm, energy, and you have to make time. You got to be in the right place at the right time. And you always got to have a positive attitude. I think we progress. We got where we are today because we always had good leadership in the past, and we want to continue having that in the future. And I think that's the secret, really, to progressing as we go along. Somebody asked me a question I got. How did you choose your engineering field? Very simple. I just loved things electronics. I loved the magic of computers. I loved the magic of cameras. I loved the magic of television. I loved the magic of radio. And I had to find what made them work. And so it drove me to become an electrical engineer. I was always very interested in biomedical type of electronic things. And I have a lot of respect for mechanical, civil, and other engineering fields. But when I saw what electrical engineering was all about, I just got goosebumps all over. This is what I had to do. And I love it. Wouldn't change it for anything else. Now, somebody says, do you have any advice for recovering from setbacks such as a company folding? It's a tough thing to do. I've had that happen to me too. I had a company, I had things that folded under me. I had consulting clients who owed me money. They went out of business and never got my money. Yes, this happens. And what do you have to do? Basically, if you let this depress you and it forces you out of your profession, then you lose. What you have to do is to say, you know, this is not the first time it's happened. It'll happen again. It's happened to me. It's too bad, but I'll learn from the experience. I'll move forward with it. What I learned from that incident that happened taught me a little bit later is how to properly bill a client so that I would never have that happen to me again. So I think I'd have to say that the thing that makes a big difference is just taking a positive attitude to keep going forward and do the best you can. My favorite project I worked on as an engineer, I helped to build a camera, which is it's a suspension system for a camera, which takes pictures from a satellite at quite a long distance. This camera has to be pointed very accurately. It required a combination of controls, motors, electronics that made it a very exciting project, and to see it work was something else. I also had a chance to work on some landing systems for aircraft, and one of my best experiences was watching an aircraft landing according to the way the analysis and prediction and engineering said it would happen. Next question we have here. Do you believe that long-term sustainability is going to be ensured by engineers? Well, long-term sustainability is a very difficult subject to address. I'd have to say that it's going to be ensured by engineers with the help of other professions. We have other things happening. We have to look to some of our scientists in other areas to work with them. It's not strictly to be done by engineering only. We have to look at some of the allied sciences. Do you think with the way society is moving forward, the amount of men and women in engineering professions will soon be equal? Yes, it will. Does more work need to be done to get there? Yes, more work needs to be done. We're getting there, but it's slowly. It's not happening as quickly as it should. It should be almost instantaneous. But we're going through a process in an exponential curve where the slope is gradually increasing. If you think of calculus, it's good old dy dt or dx dt is positive. It's getting larger. How quickly is it going to get larger? Well, that's where you have to take a second derivative, as you may recall from calculus. Yeah, I'm pleased. I think it's going in the right direction. I'd like to see it go faster, and I think each and every one of us can do something to make it a little bit faster. Okay, you know what? I think I'm running out of time. I wish I had another hour to go. I thank you for all the questions you've asked, and I thank you for being so patient with me and with the answers. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk with you today, and I do hope you can keep in touch. Feel free to contact me. You'll find me in the IEEE USA.org website, And just look for me, and you'll find my picture there, you'll find my email there, and if I can help you in any way, please take advantage of it. And with that, I'll say goodbye for now, and look forward to seeing many of you in person and working with you in the future. And I thank you very much.